welcome back everybody to our C++ text RPG series. And the last time we were here, we created the shop loader, being able to load and create shop parameters from a XML file. So let's just start this real quick to see where we were. So if we run it, we end up with, we go through our create shop parameters from file, and it loads from an XML file. So we get our inventory, our equipment, and we end up with 2 equipment because that's what we had in there. And this is an armor shop. So as a little bit of practice, I asked if you guys would try to create the shop state on your own. And if you were able to do that, awesome. If not, we're going to go through that today. So the first thing we're going to want to do, like always, is create a new state. Not get, sorry. We'll just call it the shop state. We're going to have some includes. State.h, iState. And we're going to need the selector. And we might as well forward declare the party, console, state machine, and the keyword. All right. So we're going to have some private variables. We're going to have some public variables. Not public variables, but public functions. All right, so what are some things that we're going to need? We're going to have a party reference. And we'll just call that the end party. We're going to have a console reference. We're going to have a reference to the state machine. Just like all the other states, we need all these things. Should that be a big M there? Let's put that in. And a reference to the keyboard. Don't worry, I can do this. All right, so what are some other things that we're going to need here? We're going to need the shop parameters. And if we go back to our shop loader, we're returning a unique pointer of shop parameters. So we're going to need that. Go here. So unique pointer of shop parameters. We'll just call that MP shop parameters. And we just call it, let's say, class here. Or we can forward declare it up. Let's forward declare it up here, because we may need it again. Okay. So we're going to have a few different things that we're going to have to select. So we're going to have our shop choice, like are we going to be buying or selling, a buy sell selector, an equipment selector, or an item selector, because we're using the selector as a template, and if we want to select equipment, we're going to need to use the equipment selector. If you want to select items, you're going to want to use the item selector, so just in case you use it in item shop. Selector. Not sure what that was. Shop choice selector. And then we'll have another selector. Remember that by default, the template is a W string for selectors. And we'll have another selector. This one will be a shared pointer of and that is the equipment selector. I hate when I forget the extra angle bracket. And same thing with item. Okay, so what else are some things we're going to need? So when you're in a shop, usually you're going to want to have a quantity, like what's the quantity of items that you're going to want to buy? And you're going to want to have the price as well. These are things that we're going to be displaying to the screen, the quantity and the total price. So we'll just say int quantity. Did I spell that right? Nope. I think that's right. Price. Cool. Let's have that. Then we're gonna have some bools again. So MB in shop select. MB in item buy. MB in item sell. MB set funcs, because we're gonna have different funcs for different things. So we're gonna want to be able to set those functions. MB in or is equipment shop. MB exit shop. And him be buy or sell item. I'll explain what these are as we go. And we're gonna have the void draw shop. That will draw the whole shop. And then we'll have void draw buy items. So the items that we're going to be able to buy. And that depends on what the shop is what those items will be. And then we'll have void draw sell items. Now what we'll be selling here is the items in your inventory. And then we'll have void draw items box. So items box will have its own box that will pop up. And then void reset selections. Alright, so then it's a shop state. Let's do our constructor. And our constructor will take in a party reference, party. It'll take in a console reference. It'll take in a reference to the state machine. And a reference to the keyboard. And it'll also take in a string for the shop file path. So what shop are we opening with that shop state? And we're going to need all of those functions that we need to override. So let's just go into iState. We can grab these functions, go back into our shop state. So now we're going to have our selector functions, and they're going to be void on shop menu select, and that takes in an index, and that takes in an std vector, W string. And then we're also going to have void by cell options. That takes in an index. Basically the same thing here. So these are going to be our callback functions. So the by item select, if you remember, we're going to need a data now of shared pointer of items. So yeah, it does look like we need to, it makes sense to let me get rid of this class in here. So we're going to need an index and then std vector of std shared pointer of items. That's the data. And then we're going to have void on by equipment select. And this will be basically the same except for equipment. So let's copy this down. Then we're going to have void on cell item select. So it's basically the same here. We could actually just copy both of these, and let's get rid of this and just change by to cell, because the selling is looking at our inventory, buying is looking at the shop's inventory. If you remember, the shop has an infinite inventory. Now these are render functions, so we're going to want to have render by items, and that's int x, int y. And then we want the shared pointer to the item. Render by equipment. And then these are going to be the same for cell. Now we're going to have two other functions, and it's the update the by quantity, and update cell quantity. We'll just say total available. Okay, I think that would be a good start. Let's start by creating all these. Create declaration definitions. Beautiful. Those should have all been created nicely in shop state. Let's see, go to stage, shopstate.cpp. Perfect, those were all created for us. So let's go back and do that again. So here, if we just highlight all of these, and then hit control period, go down to create declaration definition, it should make them all. Awesome, that was much faster than before. Beautiful. Those are all made for us. And now we can start filling them in. So what do we need to do here? So we have our mParty. Let's include some things up here. Party. Equipment. Not selector, sorry. Console. State machine, but that's in the same. In inputs, get our keyboard. So equipment, let's get the item. We're also going to need the shop loader. Where did we put that? Utilities, shop loader. Nice. So what else did we do here? So we have all our selectors, so we got to start doing those now. We have our unique pointer of shop parameters, so we're just going to set that to null pointer real quick. Now we got to do our selectors. So before we do our selectors, let's actually add in our using namespace placeholders. I'm sorry, std placeholders. And let's do one of our selectors. So the first selector is actually going to be m shop choice selector. I don't know why it doesn't stay in line. So what's the first thing we need for our selectors? So we always need the console, we always need the keyboard. Then we need to add in our vector of data. And that data for this we're going to be just OK. Oh, sorry, by. Cell. And exit. We're also going to have some shop params, or selector parameters, sorry. And the values I have for this are 42, 10, and 3. We'll set the functions for these down there. Then we have the by selector. By cell selector. We could probably just do this all in the line. Console, keyboard, OK, cancel. The by cell selector will be used inside of the quantity box that I want to pop up on the screen. So it'll pop up on the screen. It'll be a box, and you'll be able to push up or down to increase your quantity, and then you choose OK or cancel. That's the goal for that. And then this one will have selector params with values 80, 30, 2, and 5. Then the equipment selector. Which one would we do first? Yeah, the equipment selector. We'll just give this an empty data for the moment. And then the selector params. The item selector is basically the same thing, except this is for items. Not items. Okay, so there's all our selectors. Well, we haven't set any of the functions for them yet, but we'll do that down below. Let's just set our M quantity. We'll just set that to 0. MB in shop select is true. Oh, let's set M price as well, sorry. Why does that always happen? So we're just initializing everything. Make sure you initialize all your variables. That's the best thing you can do. Am I missing something? Oh, exit shop. All right. We got all our variables initialized. Now what we're going to want to do is actually load the shop, because we're going to need the data to load into. So we need to know what kind of shop we're running and what the data is for the inventory. And we'll just do that all in the constructor. So we just go shop loader. I'll just call it a shop loader. And then we'll say np shop parameters is equal to std move shop loader, create shop parameters from file, and we'll take in that shop file path. If not, np shop parameters. So we're just going to see, check to see if the shop parameters are created. So if it's not created, we're going to want to, do we have a logger? Throw a logger in there. Fail to load shop parameters from and we're going to put an assert in here. Now we're putting the assert here because I want it to stop in debug. So when we're running in debug in release, it'll just ignore this, but we're going to actually want to leave this function. So mb exit shop is equal to true, and that should kill the state. So on enter, just like always, we're going to want to clear the buffer. And we're going to do the same on exit. Might as well get those in there now. So if our shop parameters are good, we're going to want to check to see what the shop type is. And we're just going to do a switch case here. So switch shop type. Now, if it is a weapon, armor, or accessory shop, we will do this here because these are all equipment, or they're all treated like equipment, so we don't care which one it is. So it'll just be a fall through. If it's any of these, we want to actually just load in equipment shop. So we're going to say M equipment selector, set data, MP shop parameters, inventory, get equipment. So we set that data there, and we're going to state that it is an equipment shop. Break. And then if it's an item shop, we're going to want to do the item selector, set data, from the shop parameters, from the inventory, get items, equipment shop equal to false, and break. So might as well just copy those, change this to false. And if it wasn't set, we actually want to just assert this here, assert false, shop type must be set in for the shop state. For the shop state. Based on this shop type is what we're setting our data to. So for our M shop choice selector, we can set the selector func to std bind, and that is the shop state on shop menu select. That takes this and our trusty placeholders, and M by cell selector, Now we don't have to set the draw functions for these two because these are just W strings, and W string has a default draw function so it'll just draw it wherever you tell it to draw it. So we don't have to set the draw functions, but we do need to set what we're doing with that index. So if it's at a certain index, we need to know what it has to do. So we need to set the selection functions. And then let's hide the cursor of the by selector, or the by cell selector. If MB exit shop, and then we're just going to pop the state here. So if we're in So only if we're in a buy sell, we're going to want to do the update. Now we haven't done the update yet, but we will. Update by quantity. So in our shop state, our draw function is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to want to, first thing, draw the shop. Oh. Draw the shop. Shop choice selector. Then we're going to want to check if we are in M, B in item by, or MB item sell, and in item sell, and we will, and it's time to set the funcs. So we haven't set the funcs yet. Check if the functions are set for buy and sell. Then we want to check to see if are we an equipment shop? If we're an equipment shop, let me restate this. That doesn't make sense. Check if functions are set. Yeah. So if functions are set, we want to draw. If the functions are not set, we're going to actually have to set the functions. So that's what we're going to need to do here. So hopefully that makes sense. Equipment shop, or equipment selector, draw, else, items selector, not draw. So if we're an equipment shop, draw the equipment selector. If we're an item shop, draw the item selector. But your functions need to be set before that. And then we're going to have to draw items box. So this is like a pop-up box that will only be drawn if we're actually in the buy or sell. So then if MB buy sell items, draw by items, and by cell selector, draw. L is my friend today for some reason. I keep pushing it. And then last thing, but not least, is the console.draw. Alright, so that's our draw function. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to still have to go into these. These are still empty, so it's not going to draw anything for us. Now, process inputs is a bit more complicated, but it's still pretty easy. So it is if in shop select, we're going to want to do the M shop choice selector process inputs, and then just return from here. If we're not in there, we're going to want to check to see if M be in item by and not buy sell, go into here. And then we're going to have an else if in item sell and not buy sell item. Okay, so the first thing we want to do inside of this is check to see if we have set our functions yet. Have buy sell functions being set. if not set funcs, check to see if we're an equipment shop. And if we're an equipment shop, we're going to want to set our equipment selectors. Set selection func, std bind, and that's our shop state. On by equipment select. This 1, 2. Set draw func. Render by equipment. Now I believe we already set the data, but we'll just set it again. What's the worst that could happen? All right. So basically, we're setting all of our functions here, setting our data. Now let's copy this. So if we're not in equipment, that means we're item, so we can change this to item. And then change all of our item selection funcs. This is great because it automatically tells us that our data is incorrect, because this here is taking in a different shared pointer, so we can't use that one. So render by items. On by item select. Perfect. And then down here we want to set our funcs to true. So set funcs have been true, so it won't come back in here. So if our functions are set, we're going to want to be checking to see if we're hitting a backspace. So a backspace will take us out of the in item by. If keyboard is key just pressed, key backspace, and then we're going to reset selections. Now we'll get into what that function does in a minute, and then return. So now if we're in the item cell is our stuff. You know what I mean? So we're selling our items. So we can basically just copy all this, basically the whole thing. Here. All this. And copy that in here. But we want to change, so the bind, draw, those are all the same. But we're going to change our data here. It's not shop parameters anymore. It's party. And this is not a pointer, this is a reference. So the same with the items. Get items. And I believe everything else should be good. Let's go over it quickly. So yeah, set funcs to true, equipment selector, reset selections. Cool, that looks good to me. So now we need to see what to process, like which inputs we're going to want to process. Our functions are set, everything's good. So if we made it to here, we need to see, are we processing the equipment selector, the item selector, or the buy sell selector? Because if we're buying and selling, we're going to want to be processing that one. So if not mb buy sell buy sell item, and mb is equipment shop, and Then we're going to want to process our equipment selector. Else, if not MB buy sell item and not MB is equipment shop, and copy this. This means we're items. Then else if MB buy sell item. MB buy selector, buy sell selector. Sorry. Now that we get the process inputs down, let's look at update buy sell. First thing we're going to want to do is check to see, we need to get the gold of the party. Like how much gold do we have? Because we're going to want to cap how much we're able to buy. We don't want to go over the amount, so it'll just stop if it's beyond our price or beyond our money that we have. So end party, get gold. And then this one will also be updating the keyboard. So M keyboard that is key just pressed, and we'll use key W for that. And gold is greater than M quantity. Did I spell that? Oh man. Plus 1 times the price. So whatever the price of the item is going in. So our gold has to be greater than the current quantity plus 1. We won't even let it increase if it's not greater than this. And if it is, we're just going to increase quantity. And then else if M keyboard dot is key just pressed key S, and just check to see if quantity is greater than 0. And we'll just put a quick clamp in here. Cool. So that's it for that one. So it's pretty similar for the sell quantity. We won't look at that right now. So it's basically the same thing. You guys can fill that one out. And render sell equipment. You guys should be able to fill this one out by now, because we'll be sending in the item. You want to be able to get the item name and then write its name to the console, basically. Then you want to get its value as well, right? So it'll have a sell price. You're going to want to get its sell price as well. So here, render buy equipment. Basically the same thing. I'll just do it really quick so you can see it. Is it get buy price or just buy price? Is it price? What do we call it? Equipment has a price. What? I didn't add a price for equipment? Let's take a look. That's funny. Okay, so we need to add that in. And we can just add those in here. And sell price. Cool. Let's go back. Might as well change this to a double string right here, because this should already be a W string. Yep. Okay. And then you're just going to want to have your M console right X Y name and console right X plus 20 Y price. It's basically it. Now this value can change. You can make it a constant if you like, and then it would change amongst like however you want it to draw. So your Y will just be incremented, and that's done in the selector function. You probably just copy this, move this into here. So it's obviously not get name because I wasn't that smart. Get item name. I should have just named it. These should be similar, so you don't have to keep changing it. They're basically the same idea. So let's do the on by item select real quick. So that's just const auto reference item is equal to the data at the current index. Get the buy price from the item. Then we want to say MB buy sell item is true. We're going to want to show the buy sell selector. And we're going to set the price to the current price of this object. Okay, so that's enough for this particular video. This is going to be a two-part video because it's getting pretty long already just to get there. Hopefully you're understanding what's going on. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, let's just quickly add this shop state to our game state. Let's go to our game state here, and what do we have going on? We'll just add another one in here. Yeah, we have this all this test stuff, and we're going to want to push. Yeah, so we're pushing our game menu state here. We're going to want the same thing. So let's just see. Let's go if and keyboard dot is key just pressed. What's a good key for this? Let's just say enter. And this one actually needs the path, and we're doing that up here so we know the path works. So let's just steal this path, put it in here, and we can get rid of this for now because we'll check inside of our shop state. Let's put a breakpoint inside of our shop state here, right there. Cool. Go back into game state. We need to add our shop state. Why is this unhappy right now? That's why. then we'll just return. So key enter, let's try to build, see if it works. No, so why? That's why. Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So that's a problem with forward declarations. It looked at it and I was saying it was a class, but in reality it was a struct. Let's go back to this. And that was enter. Bam, it stopped. Are we empty? No, we're not empty. We loaded our shop. Cool. Got our shop state. Everything's here, so I should be able to just run it through and see what we get. Yay! So we got our buy sell selector. What happens if I go enter? Nothing yet because we haven't filled that out. That could be a little task for you guys if you want. I'll be putting another video up very shortly. Right now, we've got most of this done. Now all you have to do is to do the draw functions, like your draw shop, draw buy items, draw sell items, reset selections. So for reset selections, what do I mean by that? That means we want to reset everything. We're going back. We want to reset are we in item buy, in item sell, and then we're going back to setting the shop select. We're hiding the other cursors and showing the shop choice cursor and then clearing the buffer. Basically, that's what we're doing. So we're resetting back to the buy sell, what we're doing there. Draw the items box. So basically you want to have a box that pops up that's smaller than your panel size. And then inside of there is where we're going to draw our items. So you're going to have your horizontal lines, you're going to have a buy, your item, then you're going to have price. And then there's draw buy items right here. A box will pop up and you want to draw those items, right? Like so a little box pops up to the side and it'll have your quantity and it'll have total. So you want to have your total there and draw a little box around it. It'll have the selector there for the OK and cancel. So you can choose either one. All right, give it a shot and see what you can come up with. Oh yeah, remember, we have different shops. So you're going to want to change the name. So basically I had this here. So based on the shop type, you're going to want to say, is it an item shop, armor shop, weapon shop, etc. Try it out, give it a shot, see what you can do, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.